The wind howled outside like a hungry beast. Snow crashed against the windows, blinding and endless. Cole sat by the fire in his small cabin, far from the nearest outpost. He had no family left, no visitors, and no reason to expect a knock at the door. But that night, the knock came. It was soft at first. Like someone too weak to try harder, he froze, eyes narrowing, reaching for the old blaster under the table. No one should be here, not in this weather, not in this dead zone of ice. The knock came again. This time, more desperate. Cole stood. Slowly moved toward the door and pulled it open. A figure collapsed into the snow at his feet. She was small, her skin pale lavender, her clothes torn and thin. Her arms hugged her body and her feet were bare. Red and cracked from the cold, she looked up at him with wide silver eyes, filled with fear and sadness. Then, in a weak and trembling voice, she whispered, "I'll bear your offspring. Just don't throw me out." Cole stood there, shocked. Staring at the girl kneeling in the snow, he didn't know what to say, didn't even breathe for a moment. Then he dropped the blaster, grabbed her by the arms gently, and pulled her inside. The heat hit her like a wave, and she groaned in pain as her frozen limbs touched warmth. He laid her near the fire, covered her with a thick blanket, and ran. To the kitchen, she didn't move much, only curled into a ball, her eyes blinking slowly. Cole poured hot soup into a bowl and returned. Placing it near her lips, "Eat this," he said softly. She sniffed it like an animal, unsure if the food was real, then began to drink slowly, shaking all over. He watched her carefully, noticing the shape of her ears slightly pointed. Her skin had faint lines that shimmered. Like cracks in crystal, she wasn't fully alien, but not fully human either. She was a hybrid. Probably one of the unwanted, the ones made in secret labs and later thrown away. When the bowl was empty, she looked up again, fear still in her voice. "Please, I'll do anything. Just don't throw me out again." Cole shook his head. "I'm not going to throw you out," he said. "You're safe here. For now." Her body relaxed a little, but her hands still gripped the blanket tightly. He gave her more soup, and she finished it fast, like she hadn't eaten in days. Then she fell asleep, right there on the floor near the fire. Cole sat back in his chair, rubbing his tired eyes. He didn't understand what just happened. Who was she? Why had she offered something so desperate? His heart felt heavy, not with fear, but with sadness. That girl at the door had spoken like someone who had been hurt too many times. Hours passed. The wind outside screamed louder, but inside, it was quiet. Only the soft sound of her breathing filled the room. Cole didn't know why he had let her in. Maybe it was the look in her eyes. Maybe it was because he had once seen that same look in his little sister's face right before she died in a refugee camp. He didn't even know this girl's name, but tonight the fire was warmer and the cabin wasn't so empty. When Cole woke up, the fire had burned low. The cabin was still warm, but the air was silent. He looked toward the fireplace and saw the girl still curled up, her breathing soft and steady. He placed another log on the fire and sat beside her. Again, watching her, she looked so small, so fragile, like someone who had been broken too many times. A few minutes later, her eyes slowly opened. She looked around, confused, then spotted him and sat up quickly, her hands trembling. "You didn't throw me out," she whispered, surprised. Cole shook his head and handed her a metal cup filled with warm tea. "No one's throwing you anywhere," he said. "Not while you're under my roof." She took the cup slowly, holding it with both hands. After a long silence, she spoke again, voice low. "My name is Lyra." Cole nodded. "Cole," he said simply. Then he asked gently, "Where were you before this?" Lyra stared into the cup, as if the tea could hide her memories. Her fingers tightened on the metal, and for a moment she didn't speak. Then the words came. Slowly, painfully. I was born in a lab, she whispered. Not to a mother, not to a family, just. Maid Cole didn't interrupt, she continued. They called me a hybrid. Part human, part something else, created for breeding, obedience, pain. Her voice cracked at the last word. They raised us in cells, trained us like animals, tested things on us, she said. Her hands began to shake. I watched others die, some from sickness, some from punishment. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. They called us mistakes, said we weren't fit for love or freedom, just products. Cole's fists clenched slowly. He had heard rumors of secret labs that made hybrid beings. Most people thought it was just old war propaganda. But Lyra was proof it was real and worse than anyone imagined. One day I escaped, she said, ran through the tunnels, stole a coat. Kept running until I found the outer lands. They chased me, but I hid. Then wandered for days, weeks, maybe, begging for food. No one helped, she said quietly, not even humans. Not even the aliens. Both sides hated me. She looked up at Cole now, eyes wide. You're the first person who let me in. The first who didn't look at me like I was poison. Cole didn't know what to say. The silence between them was heavy, but not empty. He looked into her eyes and saw something deeper than pain. He saw survival, strength, and a deep hunger for kindness. You're safe now, he said, softly but firmly. No one's going to hurt you here. Lyra nodded, slowly. Though she didn't fully believe it yet, it would take time, Cole knew, to heal wounds that deep. She drank the rest of the tea in silence, then looked around the cabin, her fingers brushing the soft blanket she'd been given. It's warm. Here, she whispered. More to herself than him, Cole stood up, stretched, and said, There's food if you want more. Lyra hesitated, then followed him to the small kitchen space. She moved carefully, like someone used to punishment for touching the wrong thing. Cole noticed, and gently placed a bowl of stew in front of her. Eat, he said, smiling lightly. No tricks, no rules, just eat. She did, slowly at first, then faster, the fear leaving her eyes for a short moment. When she finished, she leaned back and said, I can cook, and clean too, if you want. You don't owe me anything, Cole replied. But Lyra insisted, I need to do something, otherwise I'll feel useless. Cole agreed, and for the first time, she smiled, small, shy, but real. The day passed slowly, and the storm outside never stopped, but inside the cabin, things were changing. Lyra helped wash the old plates, swept the floor with weak arms, and fixed the fire. That night, when she laid down near the fire again, she whispered something before sleep took her. Thank you for seeing me as a person. Cole sat near the window, watching the storm. His heart was heavy again, but not with sadness this time. It was filled with something else, a quiet, burning anger at the people who did this to her, and a new promise forming in his mind. No one would take her away, not while he still breathed. The days passed slowly. The storm outside never fully stopped. It just changed moods from fierce to soft, from screaming winds to silent snowfall. Inside the cabin, it was warmer now, not just because of the fire, but because something had started to grow between them. Lyra no longer looked afraid when she woke up. She moved more freely, spoke a little more, smiled when Cole cracked his dry jokes. Cole, too, felt something changing, though he couldn't describe it. He found himself looking forward to hearing her footsteps or watching her tie her messy hair back before cooking. She was learning fast. She had never boiled water before, never used a fire stove, never chopped vegetables. Now she moved like a quiet helper, always watching, always trying. Cole didn't say much, but he noticed everything: how she folded her blanket neatly, how she placed his cup exactly where he liked it. It was like she had been waiting all her life for someone to need her. One night, after dinner, Cole was fixing the solar heater near the back of the cabin. He didn't hear Lyra walk up behind him until her voice broke the silence. "I want to ask something," she said. He turned, surprised. "Sure. Why did you really let me stay?" she asked, her eyes searching his face. Cole took a breath, looked out the window at the dark snow. "You reminded me of someone," he said slowly. "My sister. She died in a camp like the one you escaped from." Lyra looked down, her fingers gripping the sides of her shirt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Cole shook his head. "Oh, she didn't die because of you," he said gently, "but I couldn't save her." He sat down on a crate, motioned for Lyra to sit too. She did, quietly, sitting close but not touching. He stared at the heater, then at the soft firelight on her face. "I don't want to fail again," he said. "And when I saw you in the snow, begging like that, I knew I couldn't walk away." Lyra swallowed hard, her voice a little shaky. "You're different from others," she said. "Most people looked at me like I was trash. Even aliens called me half-blood, a broken shell." Cole didn't speak. He just reached over slowly and handed her a scarf from the shelf. "Put this on when you sleep," he said. "It's colder near the window." She took it with two hands, like it was a gift of gold, and nodded, "Thank you," that night. She slept peacefully for the first time. No tears, no whispered fears. Just soft, steady breathing. The next morning, Cole found her humming softly while sweeping the floor. It wasn't a real song, just notes in the air, but it filled the cabin with life. He smiled without even realizing, then handed her a mug of warm berry tea. They sat together near the fire, and Cole said something he hadn't said in years. "You're doing great." Lyra blinked, unsure what he meant. "The way you help around here, the way you've stayed strong," he said. "I just wanted you to know that." Her hands gripped the mug tightly, and her eyes filled with quiet emotion. "I've never heard those words before," she said softly. Cole looked at her gently. "Well, get used to it." Later that day, while chopping wood outside, Cole looked up and found Lyra watching him through the window. She quickly stepped away when their eyes met, but he saw something was changing. Not fear, not guilt, but curiosity, warmth, maybe even affection. That night, she didn't sleep on the floor. She asked if she could sit beside him for a while on the small couch. He nodded, and she curled up carefully, not touching, just close. They watched the fire together, not speaking, just sharing the silence. Then, in a whisper, she said, "I was serious." That first night, he didn't respond immediately, so she continued. "About bearing your offspring. I didn't say it to tempt you. I said it because I was scared. I thought offering my body was the only way to stay alive." Cole looked at her, his voice calm but firm. "You never have to offer yourself like that again. I don't want anything from you unless it's freely given from your heart, not your fear." Lyra nodded slowly and then said something he didn't expect. "Then, maybe one day, I will want to, from my heart." Cole didn't smile, didn't laugh. He just stared at the fire again and whispered, "Then I'll wait." The flames danced quietly in front of them, and in that silence, something stronger than survival began to bloom. The snow had softened that morning. The winds quieted, and for once, the sun broke through the clouds. Lyra opened the window slightly and breathed in the crisp air. The cold still bit her skin, but now it felt like a reminder that she was alive, not a threat. Cole stood outside, fixing one of the solar panels damaged during the storm. Lyra watched him silently, holding a mug of tea in her hands. She didn't say anything, but her eyes followed every movement, each swing of the tool, each step in the snow. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Maybe not forever, but at least for now, she felt human. Even if the world had never called her one. Suddenly, the calm air was broken by a sharp sound, a worry noise, unnatural, mechanical. Lyra's mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the wooden floor. Cole looked up instantly. A ship, small but military-grade, was descending fast, its dark frame visible against the white sky. "Get inside," Cole shouted, running back toward the cabin. Lyra didn't move, frozen by fear. He reached her just in time and pulled her back from the door, shutting it tightly behind them. "That's a patrol craft," he said, grabbing his old blaster and heading to the corner window. Lyra's voice trembled. "They found me outside." The ship landed with a soft thud, and two armored figures stepped out. Cole cursed under his breath. "Only two," he said. "That means they're scouting, not hunting yet. Hide," he said firmly. "Cellar. Now." Lyra opened the trapdoor in the floor and slipped down without a word. Closing it gently behind her, Cole stood tall, hiding the blaster behind his coat as the knock came at the door. This time, it wasn't soft. It was loud and full of authority. He opened it slowly, pretending to be annoyed by the interruption. One of the officers, helmeted and cold-eyed, stepped forward. "Name?" he demanded. "Cole Hartman," he answered. "What's this about?" The second officer scanned the room behind Cole, eyes narrowing. "We're searching for an escaped hybrid experiment." The officer said, "Female, age unknown, half-blood." "Dangerous." Cole kept his face blank. "I haven't seen anyone," he said calmly. "Just me and this snow. We'll check anyway." The first officer said, stepping in. Cole didn't stop him, didn't argue, just stood there, waiting, watching. The two officers moved around the cabin slowly, opening drawers, looking under blankets. The first one moved toward the rug that covered the cellar door. Cole's heart pounded. He stepped forward quickly, pretending to trip and spill a pot of ash near the hearth. It scattered everywhere, and the officer turned back. "Annoyed? Watch it," he snapped. "Yeah, sorry," Cole mumbled, coughing through the dust. After another few minutes, they seemed satisfied or bored. "If you see anything," the second officer said, "report it." They left without another word, climbing back into the ship. Cole watched through the window until the ship vanished into the clouds again. Then did he move to the cellar and lift the trapdoor. Lyra climbed up slowly, eyes wide, arms shaking. "Are they gone?" she whispered. "For now," Cole said. "But they'll come back." "I have to leave," she said quickly. "You'll be in danger if I stay." Cole didn't speak for a moment. Then he walked over and placed both hands on her shoulders. "You're not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Not unless I say so." Tears welled up in her eyes. "You don't understand. They'll kill you. They don't care." "I've seen what they do to people who help hybrids." "Then let them come," Cole replied. "I'll be ready next time." That night, neither of them slept. Cole cleaned his weapons, reinforced the walls, checked the food and supplies. Lyra stayed close, helping him without speaking. She didn't cry this time. Not out loud, but once, in the silence. Cole saw her wiping tears from her eyes as she pretended to polish tools. He said nothing, only walked over and handed her a warm coat. "Tomorrow we prepare," he said. She looked up, eyes full of fear, but also something else, trust. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" he asked. "For not giving up on me." Cole gave a faint smile. "Not a chance." Outside, the snow fell again, but inside the cabin, two souls sat together, not as fugitive and protector, but as something new, something forming quietly in the middle of danger, something worth fighting for. Before the next sunrise, Cole had packed everything: importations, tools, weapons, clothes, and 2 old data drives. He didn't say much as he worked, only glanced at Lyra now and then. She didn't ask questions either. She just helped. Her eyes heavy with sadness, but her hands steady. When they stepped outside, the wind was calm. The world looked peaceful. But Cole knew better. Peace didn't last long when someone powerful wanted you gone. They moved fast through the snowy, Woods, staying low, avoiding open ground. Cole knew old paths from his days in the outer colony's paths. No patrol ship would bother to scan. Lyra stayed close behind him, moving quietly, her breath sharp in the cold. They traveled for hours, resting only once under the remains of a metal transport wreck. Lyra sat against a broken wall, her hands trembling from the chill. "Do you think they'll find us again?" she asked, her voice small. "They will," Cole answered honestly, "but not yet. We've bought some time," she nodded. Pulling the coat tighter around her body, "Why do they want me so badly?" she asked, not looking at him. Cole paused, then answered, "Because you're more than just a hybrid, aren't you?" Lyra didn't speak for a moment, then whispered, "They put something inside me, something they couldn't control. My body, my blood, it reacts to signals, to machines, to energy." She looked up at him, eyes filled with quiet fear. "I'm a living key, Cole," she said, "to something big, something old." Cole's expression darkened. He had heard rumors of ancient alien tech buried in the Cold World's technology so powerful. Even the Galactic High Council feared it. If Lyra was the key, it meant more danger than either of them expected. "We keep moving," he said. "And you don't tell anyone else about this?" Lyra nodded quickly. "I won't, I promise." By nightfall, they reached an old research outpost hidden deep in the cliffs. It was broken and rusted, half buried under years of snow. But inside, it was safe, dry, and had enough power to run heat and light. They made camp in the main chamber. Cole repaired what systems he could, and Lyra started a small fire in an old engine shell. They didn't speak much, but the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was shared, warm, alive. Later, while Cole was scanning the outer walls for signals, Lyra sat quietly nearby, watching him. She had a question, one that had burned inside her since the night she arrived. "Do you think I'm real?" she asked suddenly. Cole turned, confused. "I mean, not just grown in a lab, not just a tool or an experiment," she said, "but a real person." He walked over and sat beside her. "You bleed, you cry, you laugh, you hope," he said. "That's real enough for me," Lyra smiled, a quiet tear falling down her cheek. She leaned her head gently against his shoulder. "I don't know what's happening between us," she whispered, "but I feel it, and it scares me." Cole didn't pull away. "I feel it too," he said, "but I'm not scared." Silence fell again, and for the first time in a long time, Lyra felt safe in someone's arms. Later that night, the silence was broken by a soft hum, low, vibrating, unnatural. Cole jumped to his feet, scanning the console. "Ship coming this way," he said, his voice tense. Lyra stood too, fear flooding back into her chest. "Do we run again?" "No," Cole said, loading his blaster. "We stand, at least this time. We're not just running forever." "But what if they kill you?" she asked. "Then you run," he said firmly. "But I won't let them take you." The ship didn't land, just passed by, slowly scanning, watching, then moved away. Cole sighed in relief. Lyra stood frozen, her hands still trembling. She turned to him and said softly, "Cole, if I ever lose control of what's inside me, if I ever become dangerous, promise me you'll stop me." He looked her in the eyes and replied without hesitation, "Then I'll stop you by holding your hand, not by hurting you." That night, they slept beside each other near the fire, not touching, but close. The world outside remained dangerous, but inside the small, broken outpost, a strange kind of home was forming. She wasn't just surviving anymore, and neither was he. Cole woke. First, the small fire was nothing but glowing ash now. But the warmth of the outpost held strong. He stretched, then turned to check on Lyra. She was still asleep, her face calm, breathing soft, but something felt off, too quiet, too still. He grabbed the scanner and checked for signals. His heart stopped. There was a beacon, faint but active, pulsing from inside the base. Someone had tagged them. He rushed to Lyra and gently shook her awake. Her eyes opened fast, sensing the panic in his voice. "What's wrong?" she asked, already sitting up. "They found us," Cole said. "A tracking signal is active." From inside this base, Lyra's face turned pale. "No," she whispered. "It wasn't me. I didn't send anything." "I know," he replied. "Quickly, they must have set this up long ago, waiting for someone like you." He turned to the console and started shutting everything down. Light's power comes, but it was too late. Outside, the air cracked. A black shadow descended from the clouds, not a scout ship this time. It was a Hunter-class transport, heavily armed, built for one purpose: extraction. "We can't run now," Lyra said, her voice shaking. Cole grabbed his weapons and looked at her. "Then we fight," he said. "You stay here, hidden. Don't come out." "No," she said firmly. "I'm not leaving you alone." The doors of the ship opened, and 4 armored soldiers stepped out. Cole moved to the upper walkway and took cover. He fired first, one clean shot taking out a soldier's leg, but they didn't fire back. They moved carefully, spreading out, surrounding the base. They weren't here to kill, they were here to take. Lyra stayed in the shadows, her heart racing. She could feel its signal in her blood, the strange heat in her bones. Whatever they had put inside her was waking up, and it was angry. A grenade exploded outside. Breaking part of the metal wall, smoke filled the entrance. Cole coughed hard, falling back. One of the soldiers rushed inside. Gun raised, but then stopped. Eyes wide, Lyra stood there, not crying, not shaking. Her skin glowing faintly, eyes brighter than ever before. Power radiated from her chest like light from a storm. The soldier shouted something. Another tried to shoot, but Lyra raised her hand, and the air bent. The bullet stopped mid-air and fell to the ground. Cole stared in shock. "Lyra," he called out, "what are you doing?" "They made me for this," she whispered, her voice like thunder and sorrow together. "I won't go back." She stepped forward, each foot burning marks into the ground. The soldiers backed away in fear, but it was too late. A wave of force burst from her, silent but heavy. It knocked the attackers off their feet, disabled their suits, shut down their weapons. They lay still, unconscious or worse. Lyra dropped to her knees, the glow in her body fading. Cole ran to her and caught her before she hit the floor. Her breathing was shallow, her skin burning hot. "Hey, stay with me," he said, holding her tight. "I didn't know it would take so much," she whispered. "I didn't want to become this." "You're still you," Cole said softly. "You're still Lyra. I don't care what they made you for. You're not their weapon. You're not their property. You're mine, and I'm yours." She opened her eyes, barely, and gave the softest smile. "Then, hold on," she said, "because I think it's only beginning." He looked at her face, pale but calm, and pulled her close. "I'm not letting go," he whispered. Outside, the snow had started again, covering the footprints, the bodies, the ship. But inside, 2 hearts stayed. Together, the hunters had come, but this time it was the hunted who changed the game. Cole sat beside Lyra, holding her hand as she rested. Her body had cooled down, but her strength was slow to return outside. The snowstorm hid all traces of the battle, covering the downed ship and the fallen soldiers inside the old outpost. There was only the soft hum of heat and the steady sound of Lyra's breathing. She stirred gently, her eyes opening halfway. "Are we safe?" she asked weakly. "For now," Cole said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You scared the hell out of me. I scared myself," she whispered. Trying to sit up, Cole helped her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "I didn't want to use that power," she said, but I had no choice. You did what you had to, Cole replied. And you didn't lose yourself. They sat in silence. The fire dancing gently between them. Lyra leaned against his shoulder, her voice barely audible. I remember now, she said, before. They erased my memories. I saw something, a name, a place. Cole looked at her. What kind of place? An ancient vault, she said slowly, buried deep in the mountains, forgotten by time. Locked with genetic codes, I think I was made to open it. He nodded, not surprised anymore. Then we find it, he said, and we make sure. No one else ever uses it. They spent 2 more days repairing what they could. Cole disabled the tracker system completely, and Lyra helped him encrypt the base's signature. Then they left, walking deeper into the mountains. Following her faint memory like a compass, the journey was hard, steep paths. Freezing winds, hidden dangers. But they moved together, step by step, never turning back. On the 3rd night, they found it, a stone door carved into a cliff wall, covered in alien markings and old tech panels. Lyra walked forward and touched the center with her hand. The door lit up, scanning her. Then clicked open with a soft hiss. Inside was not a weapon room, not a lab, but a sanctuary, a place made for healing. For protection, not destruction. It was built by an ancient race long gone. Inside were rooms filled with stasis pods, old energy crystals, and technology Cole had never seen. Lyra touched one of the pods gently, her voice soft. This was their final hope, she said. A way to keep their knowledge alive. Not to make war, but to rebuild. Cole looked around and whispered, maybe this is why they made you, not to destroy. But to unlock the future, they activated the core systems and restored basic life support. It would take years to understand everything, but they were no longer running. They had found a place where they could start over. Days passed, then weeks. The air inside the vault was clean, the power stable, and for the first time in forever. Cole slept without one eye open. Lyra was getting stronger, too, learning the ancient language, unlocking pieces of knowledge left behind. One evening, she walked up to Cole, her hands behind her back. I've been thinking, she said, smiling shyly. About what? He asked, looking up from the console. She sat beside him and pulled something from behind her, a tiny pendant made from old alloy scraps. Shaped like a heart. I made this for you, she said. It's simple, but I wanted you to have it. Cole took it carefully, staring at it for a moment, then he smiled. This is the best thing I've ever been given. She looked into his eyes, her voice suddenly serious. I meant what I said the night you found me, not as a bargain, not from fear, but from love. I want to stay by your side for as long as you'll have me. Cole leaned forward and kissed her gently on the forehead. Then stay, he whispered, because I'm not going anywhere. They held each other close in the quiet vault beneath the stars. No more running, no more fear. Lyra had found her place, not as a weapon, not as a broken hybrid, but as a person, loved and seen. And Cole, once a lonely man in a frozen world, had found something he never thought he'd feel again: purpose, connection, and love. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were something more. Together, they would build a future, not from war, but from hope. Not with fire, but with hearts that chose each other. And that was something no empire, no lab, no soldier could ever take away.